I'm Cheryl Strichik. I'm the Executive Director here at Monthaven. Somers, I know you're tired because you traveled back and forth from New Mexico and you've just been a real trooper. The work is tremendous. The work is magnificent. I can't say enough. And I mean that seriously. It is gorgeous. I loved it the very moment I saw the first piece. And I was, I saw photos of your work, but I had never seen a piece up close until this particular show. So I was kind of a novice to your work. I knew who you were, of course, being in the arts myself, but I had missed seeing your show, seeing your exhibition. So this has been a real pleasure. So we just want to thank you for being here, and I'd like to introduce all of you to this wonderful Somers Randolph. Woo!
Thank you. I want to thank Cheryl, who is really one of Nashville's art heroes, having created this out of what was, a standing mansion that needed to be a home for the arts. And I want to thank Lois Riggins-Ezel, who I made a promise to her back in the early 90s that if she ever told me that I needed to do something, I would do it. And Lois called me up about, what was it, Lois, 6 months ago, and said, you need to do a show at Monthaven.
Nice.
And there we are. I just love seeing everybody here. There's such a mixture of memories in this room for me. From people who were in Leadership Nashville with me, to cousins I've grown up with my whole life, to cousins who picked on me my whole life. There might be an old girlfriend in the crowd.
Or a new one.
Hey, a new one, you never can tell. Anyway, I'll tell you a story that goes to sort of how I make sculpture. I want people to touch it. And you grow up going to museums and going to art galleries and they say, don't touch, don't touch, don't touch. Well, the whole point of sculpture is to touch it. And so my entire career, I've made pieces that turn. And people say, well, why don't you electrify it? Well, because I want you to touch it and turn it. And the tactile nature, there's an exercise that I was going to do, and I'm glad I didn't because this is a big crowd, but there's an exercise where you take a paper bag and you have somebody come up and reach in the paper bag and identify an object and then tell you what it is and then pull it out and show it to you. And it's a stapler or a light bulb or a pair of scissors. And then you have two volunteers and one sits blindfolded and they're not allowed to use their hands. And the other person pulls the object out, and the first person says, okay, touch it on my arm. Okay, touch it on my leg. Touch it on my head. And there's no way to identify the object almost until it ends up in your mouth. Your mouth can identify things, but the rest, your hands are so essential. And that's part of the reason for these little doodads.
Yeah, the music.
I make these so that you have to hold it. The only way you're ever going to see this piece the way I do, when I have it in my lap and I'm turning it around and grinding on it in different ways, or relieving the shapes with a rotary tool, and there's some tools in the other room back there that will explain this, but the only way you would see it the way I see it is if you have it in your lap or have it in your hands. And it's so important. The touch part of sculpture is so important. Please, if you see pieces here, touch them. Touch them. It's just important. So here's the story. My grandmother, I sent her a sculpture, and she had no way of she thought of sculpture as Greece and Italy and classic shapes and classic, Madonnas and all that. And I sent her a piece that was just a very simple curve out of alabaster, and it was pinned on the base. And about 6 months after the piece had arrived at her apartment, she called me up and she says, "Hi, Somers. Dillard is doing this, and Millie is doing this, and I've talked to Alfred," and she was chatting on long distance. Now, this is a woman who could hang up in between goodbye and goodbye. She literally would not waste $1 on long distance, and she was chatting, and it was so unusual that I called her on it, and I said, "Ganny, you're chatting on long distance, what's up?" And she confessed. She said, Somers, it's the strangest thing. I have a relationship with that piece of sculpture. One of the top 10 compliments of my career. And she put it in a mirrored niche, and she turned it every day, and she had a relationship.
There's a couple of things I know. I've had so many people ask me that have been coming into the museum and seeing the exhibition, which we've had quite a few thousand people through the doors for this show. One of the things that I've allowed, which you touched on, Somers, was when people would come in to see the work, to actually touch the pieces, and they're kind of taken aback because I said, "Well, look, the whole time we were here putting this up, we all were touching it. He likes you to touch it, so I'm here with you. Go ahead and touch it, because the heart over there to touch it, it changes it. It does." And then the other thing, we've been going through the galleries, and Kaylin will turn one piece one way, and I'll go behind her, who turned this? And I'll turn it another way. And we see it visually differently because he made them to where they rotate. So I want it to be one way when I come into the gallery, and she wants it to be another way when she comes into the gallery. But it brings me to a question that people ask me a whole lot. Most people in here, a lot of people that have followed you know the answer to this, but how long does it, when you're going to make a piece, and let's take the wings out front that are so spectacular, the beautiful wings, or the crab claws, or the lobster claws, or the angel wings, we had it called everything, which was a piece that has been sold and is an amazing, amazing piece. How long does it take you? Because I have people ask me that every day.
It's a very common question, and mostly it is asked to do the division and figure out, okay, if that piece is this many thousands of dollars and it took this many hours, then that's how much per hour an artist makes. Not true. I have a quick and cute answer to that, which is that it took 50 years to be able to do it at all.
Yeah.
The other question, the true answer is I never count hours.
Yeah.
And I just don't, I won't. It would interrupt the flow of making something if I was trying to figure out for myself if I was making money doing it or not. And the other thing is, everything except for the crab claw piece that you see in here are unpaid hours. Now, musicians understand that, and writers understand that. The creative process is one where you do it because you love doing it, and then maybe you get paid. So it's much. The other thing that I wanted to mention was none of these pieces have titles.
That's what I was going to ask.
And
you.
they're not untitled. They all say untitled, which is anyway. They're not untitled. They have 1,000 titles. And I've thought of 1,000 different titles as I made them. But you get to name them. You get to take it home, and you get to say what it is. For you, if I call something Lovers, and you don't see Lovers, that's the end of it. It's like, oh, that's not Lovers. Instead of, I wonder what that is. So you gain an extra 20 seconds of engagement from someone by not putting a title on it.
I think that when people get to the pink piece, the low slung pink piece, if you haven't seen that one yet, it's magnificent. It's in the back gallery. I think that's when I get asked how long, because they're overwhelmed by that piece. That is such an amazing, and they know it was a piece of stone. They're looking at it going, my gosh, what did it take? And the amount of effort. So I know it's a very visceral.
I'm faster than I've ever been, but it's still
fast
a piece.
now as you've ever been.
I'm as fast as I've ever been, and it's still a piece of stone. I mean, it doesn't make itself. You have to remove the stone.
The last thing is just to ask you, do you think that you are in your process of your life's work? Where do you think you are today?
Well, this is clearly the absolute top. This is the top right now. I mean, I don't plan on going downhill, but this is as far as I've gotten. I did want to mention, you brought it to mind with the capital campaign, and I hope everybody leaves $1 in the box up there. But pricing is something that is always, how do you come up with a price for something? And it's true that it's a difficult question for me as well. When I was a young sculptor out in Santa Barbara, and somebody would come in, I could tell you some funny stories. The guy, well, no, I won't. But if you would come into my studio and you'd say, well, how much is that? And I'd go, okay, let's see, I owe Bob. And the rent is coming in 2 weeks, and okay, that piece is $400. And you would do one of two things. You'd say, thank you very much. And I'd go, damn, I priced it too high. Or you would say, well, what if I buy 3? And I'd go, I priced it too low. Now 3 pieces. And I never knew what was the value. And now I rely on what people have paid for similar pieces in my past. I've been selling sculpture for 50 years. Now, I need to protect people that have invested in my work. And it needs to go up because they've invested. But the other part of it is that I really dislike numbers and symbols next to my work. It's not relevant to what I do. Merchandising and money and units of exchange and all that is way over here, and creativity is way over here. And when I advertise in magazines out in Santa Fe for people to come and call me up and come tour the studio, it never says a number. There are great pictures of sculpture, but there are no numbers. It just says, come by my studio. And when you come to visit the studio, I will say, I'm not selling anything today. I would love for you to take pictures, and if you want to call me later on, we'll talk about how you can end up with a piece. But I really, truly believe that money's way over here, and art is way over here, and I'm not, as a result of that belief, I'm not very good at hawking my work. Thank goodness Cheryl is good at hawking my work. But money, I have had enough to raise my daughter, and I have had enough to have a wonderful studio in Santa Fe, and I had a great run making jewelry for a bunch of years. I see some pieces. I've come to where I just trust that I'll be taken care of, that when I need to sell a piece, and I'll run my bank account down to 0 and out on the credit cards, and then a piece will sell and it all gets leveled out and taken care of. It's maybe not the smart way to be an artist, but it's something. Oh, I'm making bronzes too. I've got 2 pieces. I finally decided to cast some bronzes, so I've got 2 pieces that are coming out in bronze. They're just little shapes, little handhelds, but that'll be fun to do.
Oh, that's great. Well, and which brings me to Cheryl hawking his Somers work. the wonderful thing that happens, Monthaven does try to do one or two. Now, our Papillon Gallery towards the back of the museum is local, always local and regional artists, and we really promote our local and regional artists. Ruth Chase is our director of our regional arts, who is, I don't think, here today, but that's always where you find local art, and you can purchase local art here. But with the Somers, with the Canvas and Stone show of Catherine Somers, 40% of the sale of every item here goes to Monthaven Arts and Cultural Center. So when you purchase a piece, and this is the last day, I'm just saying, when you do purchase a piece, 40% does go to the museum, to our operations, for our daily operations, our outreach programs, everything I mentioned. One thing I will say, if you're not in the market for a large piece, all throughout the gallery are the musings, that's what he calls them, and they are spectacular. Mm-hmm. The musings are divine. I think we've sold just about 20 musings. He came here with about 50, and I know we've sold 20 or 25 probably now. So we have some left. They're magnificent, and they're a great way, and you can even get an easel, you can show them, you can find a way to display them if you don't want to lay them down. But they're fabulous. You just want to hold them all the time. Everyone here, we've fought over all our pieces. So I do encourage you, if you like a piece, to get one of the musings. Otherwise, you can get the beautiful heart right there. It's one of the most spectacular pieces. And the yellow pea, they're all incredible. I call them their colors. But they're just spectacular. The work is great. We thank you again, Somers, for being here. He is in the back gallery over here. He's got some tools and some rough rock, stone, I should say, that he's talking to everyone about. I know he has his little machine if he's been signing some pieces. So today, if you buy a piece, he will sign it for you with his machine he has. And I just wanted to open up if there were any questions before we, and don't forget there is wine and there's cookies and some fruit and water and coffee in the dining room gallery. And then feel free. Yes, Michael, you have a question.
Yeah, what is the inspiration that you get from making these pieces, like different kind of designs and that kind of stuff?
Where does the inspiration come from?
If I could bottle it, I'd make a lot of money. I don't know where the inspiration comes from. I have always been interested in form, and one of the things that occupies most of my time is refining a shape. So I'll have 20 different little blocks of stone and pick them up and pull them in my lap and work on it, and when I get confused or I don't know where it's going to go, I just set it aside and pick up another one. And I've got, somebody asked me how many pieces were going at the same time, and including the great big ones, I've probably got 50 pieces going at any one time. And I'll walk down the hill to the studio and decide what kind of energy I have, whether I'm going to do the hard labor of a piece that's already defined, and then, do the actual hard work of removing more stone when I know what it's going to be, or if I get to be totally creative and hold little pieces and just figure out what their shape will be.
Great, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to, if you ever cut a little too far, do a little more than you wanted to do, and how you change that around, how you utilize that.
I break far less pieces now than I used to. But I do cut too far, and you can only make, when you're carving, it was Brancusi that said that I mean by sculpture that which is done by taking away, because that which is done by adding on is more similar to paint. And it's really true. In bronze, you can add and subtract in the clay, and then in the wax, and then in the bronze. So you can always change the shape, but in stone, you can only get smaller.
So you have had pieces that you changed around and then didn't have to throw away.
Oh yeah, and pieces that break. You know, when you're purchasing a block of stone and it's more expensive stone, and you get halfway through it and it's in two pieces instead of one, it ends up on the shelf, and I will walk by it sometimes for 10 years, and it'll be a mistake. I'll walk by and go, oh gosh, I wish that piece hadn't broken. And then one day you finally walk by it and go, oh, I know what I can do with that. And then it turns back into material.
Well, like, couldn't this be a result of a broken piece?
It could be. Many of the smaller ones are chips off of larger pieces.
Yeah, so when he's working, sometimes he'll be working on, I know you described me a large piece, and then something might, go awry, and so a piece breaks off, and then that's what's created the musings a lot of times, is the pieces that didn't make it into the bigger piece. Yes, ma'am.
I have 2 questions. Where do you procure the stone? And do you use assistants or interns or any kind of help?
I do. I love my assistants. All these finishes are due to my most recent assistant, whose name is Sean Hall, and he's been with me 2.5 years. He's 23 years old. He's bound to be a sculptor, and he figured out how to put a 20,000 grit finish on stone. I bought him the paper, but that's all I did. I said, Sean, here, we've got some really fine paper. See if this will work. What was your first question?
Where you get the stone?
Where I get
Where you
it.
get the
The
stone?
stone, I'm really lucky to have stone from around the world, and I inherited probably 100,000 pounds of marble from a sculptor who got a pacemaker and could no longer use power tools. Wow. And he called me up and said, I want you to have my collection. So that was a real gift. The stone, we're standing on stone. I mean, there's stone. Tennessee has beautiful limestone.
Yeah.
I had 2 huge boulders behind Blue Sky Court that were from the bottom of the Bell South building. And when I moved, I couldn't take them, so I don't know what happened to them, but I was going to carve them a telephone for their lobby.
That's fine. So I guess what I'm curious is, do you kind of go out and forge around for it, put feelers out, or are there vendors you can call and say, what do you got?
There's a guy in Los Angeles. There's a guy in Kansas, in Lawrence, Kansas. There's a guy in New York, and there's a guy in Vancouver that have blocks of stone for artists that they go and get and import. And then other than that, there are local quarries. This yellow stone is up in Hannah, Utah, in a wonderful part of the country, and that's where that comes from. That's from the tip of Argentina, and it comes out of the quarry on the back of a mule. There are a lot of. This is from Iran. I communicated with a guy in Iran about that piece. This stone comes from around the world. And what's cool is in my studio, because I've made dust now for 25 years, the floor of the studio is literally the whole world. There's dust from every continent on the planet under my feet while I'm carving. And that kind of gives it a good feeling.
That's really interesting, too. Anything else before we kind of wrap up our day, and we can spend some more time, like I said, with Somers inside the other gallery. But does anyone else have a question that they'd like to ask? Okay, well, listen again.
I want to thank everybody for coming. I'm just honored. I've got an uncle and aunt and cousins, and I'm thrilled everybody's here. Thank you all for coming.
Yes, thank you so much. And myself and Celeste and Kaylin and quite a few other of the staff here are available if you have any questions for us. If you would, before you leave, be sure your name is in the computer with your email so we can put you on our mailing list and you can know about upcoming events. We do have some wonderful exhibitions coming. We have an Picasso unknown. I'm sorry, I lost that word.
From the granddaughter.
Unknown. Yeah,
Picasso's granddaughter's collection.
Yes, Picasso's granddaughter's collection. It's quite spectacular. We'll have 70 pieces, approximately.
She inherited 10,000.
Yeah, and it's really quite spectacular. Now, these are lithographs.
Limited edition lithographs.
Limited editions.
But
they
made
come in
from
scenes.
drawings that no one's ever seen.
Yeah, they're quite spectacular. We'll have 70 of them, and September 6th is that opening. And then a wonderful Toulouse track show next year. And the Toulouse track show, y'all, we're gonna have some of his original drawings, along with some of the big posters. It's gonna be terrific, and that's gonna be another really great one. But we're working nonstop all the time, lots of activities, and we would love you not to be a stranger. It is not far. I laughed when we were talking about that. You are rolling 1 mile from the Davidson County line. You're in Sumner County. We're 1 mile from the Davidson County line from downtown Nashville. We're literally 13 point something miles from the center of downtown. So we are near to all of you. You just get in your car, and it's easy to park, although it's still gravel till we get to good parking lots. That's okay. We're easy exit off, so we hope that you'll be part of the family out here, and you'll come out and spend more time with us and take classes if you want. Our teachers are tremendous. We have classes every day, all the time. So we hope to see you again. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your afternoon here at Monthaven. Thank you so much for coming.